crowdsourcing got a very bad reputation, especially amongst creatives, for exploiting talent and not paying artists a fair price for their efforts. In spite of the negative criticism from experts and leading associations like AIGA, crowdsourcing became a widely used format for all kinds of creative projects and areas. In this video, I would like to show you both the pros and cons of entering crowdsourced design contests and help you decide whether it is something you should consider taking part in. Crowdsourcing is something that you will find positive things about, but you will find a lot of negative things about if you read into it, or even if you just ask people, especially people in the creative industry. Now, this video is going to be a guide to help you which sites are best to start using if you want to take part in crowdsourcing contests. But to help you understand this a little bit more, I even created this comparison which goes into much more detail on the pros and cons, both from the aspect of the designer and also the aspect of the client. So you can see that we have roughly the same amount of pros and cons, and that is why the industry and generally everyone is so indecisive on whether crowdsourcing is good or not. But I don't want to go through and explain everything. Instead, I'm going to talk about these points while showing you some examples. So let's start in 99 Designs. It is a brilliant site and very easy to use, a great interface, easy to get around. First of all, creating an account is completely free and you just have to verify yourself by submitting an ID. But it doesn't take long, so you can get started fairly quickly. And once you're verified, you will be able to enter contests. Now, based on your experience and the amount of projects you worked on 99 Designs, you will be categorized in different levels. So you can be an entry level, a mid-level, or top level designer. And there's certain things that will only be available once you reach these higher levels. Now, the way you can get further ahead is by winning contests, and there is a designer curation team at 99 Designs which is regularly reviewing accounts and promotes selected designers to a higher level, or in certain cases they push them back to a lower level if their quality of work is not as good anymore, or maybe they upset a client or something like that. Now, on the entry level, you are limited to enter 10 contests per month. And believe me, that's a lot. So even that is usually more than enough, even if you're deciding to do this full time. But once you're promoted to mid-level, you will be able to enter unlimited contests, because contests, as you can see in this table, are also categorized. There's bronze, silver, gold, and platinum. From the client's perspective, this means that if they want to do a platinum contest, they would have to spend more money on it, and the winnings are usually higher as well. But that means that they will be working with top-level designers. So the quality of the work is higher, and it's more likely they will get a really professional outcome. Now, another thing worth mentioning is that 99 Design takes a fee from every transaction, and depending again on your level, this fee is going to be reduced. So the further you get, like on top level, it's only 5%, while on entry level, it's 15%. So to show you an example of an actual account, this is my wife's Shumi's account, and she started doing these projects around 6 years ago, and she spent roughly around a couple of months, I would say, and you can see she entered 15 contests, out of which she won 7, and she was runner-up in 8, which is a great result, I would say. Now, she didn't do any one-to-one projects because back then that wasn't available, and she also didn't have repeat clients. But now that is also available. So once you work on projects, let's say you win a project and client really likes your work, you can actually continue working with the client directly. In that case, it won't be a contest. It won't be competing against other designers. It would be a one-on-one project. Now, when it's the first time you work with a client on a one-on-one basis, there's another 20% introduction fee, I think it's called. Again, that is something that 99 Design is taking for like setting up everything for you. But the next project you will be doing with the client, that's not going to be taken. So that's only for the very first one-to-one project with a client. Another thing that Shumi told me, that she still regularly gets invites to work on contests and sometimes even on one-on-one projects based on her work. Because in a way, you have a portfolio created on 99 Designs, which you can decide which project to show or which projects not to include. But this is also similar to having a portfolio, let's say on Behance or Dribble, or use Instagram to show your work. Here, you show these to potential clients who have the chance, if they like your work, to immediately invite you to work on a project for them. Now let's take a look at the contests. So if I go back to the homepage and then go to the browse contests option, here you can find first of all the categories, and we can see already that there's currently 536 open projects that we will be able to enter, out of which the biggest category is logo and identity. So that's basically branding. Then we have the second biggest one is probably the advertising. And if you're into illustration, there's still art and illustration projects as well, always. Currently, there's 10 of them, but that's already quite a lot to choose from. You can also search for industries, so you can find projects based on certain areas. Let's say if you are interested in doing designs for food and drink, you will find all kinds of different projects. At the moment, there's 37 open contests. There's also additional filters you can find, and this is very important to understand what type of contests there are and also how they work. So first of all, one of the most crucial things to look for is whether you want to work on blind or visible or open contests. Now, what's the advantage in entering, let's say, an open contest? So something that is not blind. These are the contests where you will be able to see the entries from other designers. So let's just check out one of these. Maybe let's click on this one here. And if I switch to the designs, I will be able to see all the submissions so far. These type of contests are great if you are just starting out and you would like to see what other designers are doing. But with these contests, there is a higher chance of copycats. So basically, especially if there's hundreds of entries, it is fairly easy to get away with like picking up details from someone else's design and then taking it from there, being inspired in a way, and using it for your own designs. Sometimes if it's very obvious, then obviously you can report that other designer, or you might be reported if your design is too similar. So there can be issues with taking part in an open contest, but definitely this is the best way of learning, because you can really see what others are doing and also what the client is responding to or what ratings they are giving. Like we can see already from this contest, this is the one that the client rated with 5 stars. So that's probably the direction that they like the most. So even without having the direct communication with the client, you can get a better idea of what type of style and aesthetics they prefer, if that was not already obvious from the brief. And let me show you the brief as well. So the brief is obviously the starting point. That's what you should always read before entering a contest. So it depends on the client how much detail they decide to give, but normally it's fairly good amount of detail to get started. And 99 Designs makes sure that the client also shows the colors that they prefer and also set the attributes. So whether they want the design, in this case, the logo, to be more modern or classic. And these are all attributes that they can set on a scale, as you can see. So it's obviously a more feminine brand, and then it's more sophisticated, luxurious, organic, and literal than the other side of the scale. What clients can also include in the brief are examples, and these usually are picked from 99 Designs. So when they set up the contest, there will be a couple of recommendations, and the client would just need to pick the ones that they think are closest to what they want. Now, most clients would also give you some files that you can download and work with. That's something that you can get there. And then the brief would also explain the deliverables. So what you need to send to the client at the very end. So it will be a logo in this case. So you need to submit layered vector files, whether it's an AI or EPS, or in this case, it might need to be both of them. And if you struggle with setting up files and documents, 99 Design is doing a really good job at providing templates for you. So these are also things that you can download and that will already help you get started. So if we go up to the top, we can also see that currently there's 14 people watching this contest, which means that they are probably already working on something that they will be submitting, but haven't done it yet. And we can also see that this is a guaranteed prize. This is also important to remember when you are filtering for contests to enter. You can select whether you want to see all or just the guaranteed contests. Again, this is something a client can decide whether they are committed and guaranteed the winning prize, or if it's not guaranteed, it will depend on the submissions. And if the client wants to pick a winner, then they can pay. Of course, most designers would prefer to take part in a guaranteed contest, but here's a very important tip or consideration. If you decide to start doing crowdsourcing projects, you shouldn't go in thinking about winning. That shouldn't be the most important reason why you do these. That's just like a benefit or a bonus. The main reason to take part in these contests is to improve your skills and to study. As a teacher, I feel like that's the biggest benefit of taking part in a crowdsourcing project. And I'm going to elaborate on that a bit later on. But the other thing that you can also decide to filter for is whether you want a fast-tracked or a normal paced contest. I think normally most contests would take around 7 days from start to finish. And then obviously after that, the client can spend some time choosing the winning designs. But a fast-track project would mean that it's going to be much faster, so it will be less days. You might be wondering, why is there an option for contests that are finished? Now, this is actually a great way to learn again from past contests, especially if they were not blind, of course. So for example, if we go into this one, Tequila Design, I think it was, we can check all the previous designs. You can also use this little toggle here on the right to see everything grouped by designers, which is my favorite way of seeing things, because this gives me a very quick overview of each of the designers and how many entries they submitted. And then of course we can see that in this case, this designer was the winner. Now, I'm not going to analyze this project specifically, but I am already working on a series where I'm going to look at past 99 design contests and analyze all the entries and try to show you how much you can learn from just simply going through these projects and try to understand what made the winning design to be selected. So if you're interested to see these videos, make sure you subscribe to the channel and also hit the little bell icon to be notified each time we publish a video or doing a live stream. Now, before I move on to talk a bit more about the other platforms, I just wanted to mention that 99 Design partnered with Adobe Stock. So whenever you work on projects and you choose a stock asset from Adobe Stock, it's going to be handled in a really smart way. So it's fully integrated into 99 Design. And if you are wondering what Adobe Stock is about, we have done a video about it. And also this is a platform that you can use to make money or passive income and sell your illustrations or graphic designs or photos. Now, you probably heard of Fiverr as well. This is another platform that is very successful, and there's a lot of people using it, both as a creative professional or someone just starting out. And I know a lot of clients also who use it. Now, this is also free to join. There's no subscription fees, but Fiverr takes 20% of every transaction. Here, creatives are called sellers. And as a seller, you can set your services that you're offering. And I think there's around like 200 categories you can choose from, which would be like graphic design, illustration, so on and so forth. But what's quite interesting is that you can set up gigs. Now, these gigs would be specific jobs that you prefer to work on and that you are offering. So this can be very niche. Here we can see a couple of ones like this one. I will create a modern and professional logo for anyone. That is quite broad. But we can find other ones. Let's say we go into this category and we choose poster design. Within that, we will be able to find more niche gigs like this one. I will make personalized birthday chalkboard posters. Now, what Fiverr is known for really is the very cheap or low price that you can find for projects like this. So it says starting at £8. But if we click on this, we can see that depends on which package I choose. So by default, it is that much. But if I choose to have a fast delivery, let's say, and also additional revisions, maybe, I don't know, 3 rounds of revisions, then the price will obviously add up. But Fiverr is doing a really good job at making it almost like a shopping experience where you can choose extras and you can see exactly how much the price is going to change based on that. Now, of course, every seller is reviewed and you can see what people are saying about them. And I think specifically about the gig in this case. And similarly to 99 Design, if you are successful on Fiverr, you might be selected to become a Fiverr Pro. Again, this is a hand-vetted selected group of more professional designers. And as far as I know, it's less than 1% of all the users. So it's supposed to be really the best designers on the platform. Now, the other 2 sites I would like to talk about are Talent House and Creative Allies. These are fairly similar because what they do is that they have creative briefs from leading brands and artists, and most of the time you would need to produce something more illustrative, like a poster or an album cover. So currently here on Talent House, I can show you that the creative invites that are available are things for, let's say, BBC, creating an artwork inspired by the 5th series of Peaky Blinders, which is a brilliant show. If you haven't seen it already, I highly recommend to watch it. It's a very dark and gritty, like gangster story with some brilliant actors like Tom Hardy in it. But you can see that all the other ones are really interesting. We have Brightburn, we have Spider-Man, and we have a couple of other ones. These further down are already projects that are closed. So again, we have artists selected. And we even have a project here about the recent Godzilla film, and it's already has the winners announced. This is actually something I'm planning to also do a separate analysis on, to look at all the entries and see whether the selected winners were the best from all of the other designs. So keep an eye on these videos. They are coming soon on the channel. Now, what's interesting about Talent House is although that they have a public vote, so we can see the likes here under each of these entries, the actual decision comes from the client or their panel, and it's completely independent from the social votes. The panel might decide to look at the likes as well, of course, and maybe take that into consideration, but it's completely up to them how they decide which one is best. And of course, again, it's mainly based on the brief. So whenever you enter these contests, make sure you really pay attention to the brief. And that applies not only to Talent House, but all of the crowdsourcing sites, including 99 Designs and Fiverr as well, of course. Now, similarly to Talent House, there's also Creative Allies, which is pretty much exactly the same thing. Currently, they are changing things around. I think they are updating the site, so we won't be able to see current campaigns. It says like it's going to be updated soon, but I just wanted you to remember these 2 options in case you prefer to work on more like movies and artwork for pop stars and more famous or well-known brands. If you haven't tried crowdsourcing, I would recommend to try all of these sites that I'm mentioning and maybe do one project on each and see which one you feel most comfortable with using or which one you enjoy the most, because it's really hard to tell. Some people might actually like these type of projects, while others might prefer Fiverr or 99 Designs. It's a personal preference, really. And while we're talking about Talent House, there's actually something that I've seen recently on Twitter. So once the Peaky Blinders contest was announced, on Twitter, they actually got quite a lot of negative feedback. And most of these people are professionals working in the industry, and they are clearly stating that they are not happy with these type of projects. On the right, you can also see a brilliant illustrator and designer, Jessica Hish's take on what would be a better way of doing these open contests for creative work. And she actually has a very good point there. I'm not going to read up any of these, so I just keep it here on the screen and you can pause it and read it if you wanted to. But again, this is just to show you that there's obviously the negative or dark side of crowdsourcing that a lot of creatives are familiar with, and they are trying to actually discourage brands of doing these type of contests. Now, I personally, again, see the value for learning. So I wouldn't consider doing these contests full time, and I wouldn't suggest to anyone to do them full time or like use this as your main source of income. This is something that you can do on the side, almost like a little exercise. I actually know Von Glitschka, who is an amazing instructor and teaches mainly Illustrator. What he said is that he used to do this morning routine or practice that he warms up by doing a few Fiverr projects, and that's literally takes him like each of them. He spent probably like 10 minutes and he did 1 or 2 of them every morning, but that was just literally for him to warm up and get into doing his real projects. So on one hand, I agree that these contests can be harmful for the creative industry. But on the other hand, again, I can say that these are amazing opportunities for people who just would like to try and practice new skills, or just to be simply involved working for brands and real clients and on real briefs. Okay, and before we wrap up, I just wanted to show you very briefly that there is also another site called Design Crowd, which is again geared towards creatives. So the main reason I'm showing this to you is because it's an alternative, and I'm not going to go into detail on what makes this site unique. There's a couple of differences, but generally it's the similar model. And then you might have heard of Upwork, which used to be called Elance. Now this site is a bit more broader, so it's not only design, there's all kinds of different things here. And also like Freelancer is another one where you can find all kinds of different projects. These are good as well, but they are not really aimed at creatives specifically. So as a creative, I would recommend to focus on more like 99 designs, because I think you can get more contests and the whole experience is more tailored for creatives. Again, another one would be People Per Hour, you might have heard of. Slightly different model, but again, not specifically targeting creatives. So that was a big topic to cover, and I hope it all made sense. But just to wrap everything up, here is the conclusion that I would like you to take away from this video. If you decide to do crowdsourcing, use it mainly as a form of studying. So don't go in expecting to win projects, but to practice your skills and also to use the projects that you're working on to showcase in your portfolio. So if you are new and just starting out, this is a great way to start building up some work that you can show to your clients or to show at an interview if you're applying for creative jobs. But having said that, it doesn't mean that you should use every single project or every single entry that you created in your portfolio. Filter them out and don't put everything in, just really the best and most successful ones. It doesn't have to be only the winning entries, but the ones that you are proud of and then you feel like it really represents your skills. And also very important, don't put pressure on yourself. Don't stress out too much about the contest that you are taking part in. It's not the end of the world if you are not selected as a finalist or if you are not winning. Remember, you are just in it for the experience and for improving your skills to study. And last but not least, don't go all in and doing crowdsourcing, ease into it. So if you haven't done it before, first you probably just want to start slowly, maybe do a project a month and then take it from there and slowly and gradually start doing more projects based on your success and based on the enjoyment that you get out of it. As an example, as I mentioned before, my wife got a lot out of working on 99 projects, and it helped her to get into the industry and fairly quickly. So after, let's say, working on projects for around 6 months, almost immediately she got first an internship at a design agency, and then she also started to work a few months after that full-time as a designer. Of course, she was also studying from online courses at the same time, but 99 Design gave her a great way to practice and to learn how it feels like working on real briefs for real clients. Let us know in the comment section what would you like us to cover next time on this series. Click on the link in the description or the join button to become a member if you want to work on future projects with us and see the whole design or illustration process live. Thanks a lot for watching. Like and share this video if you enjoyed it. Have fun learning, guys, and I will see you in the next one.